Welcome to the world of Zip System building enclosures, where we believe in striving for optimal air, water, and thermal management, no matter the region or climate. Because when you have the right products to do the right job the right way, the first time, you're building to a higher code, the Zip Code.
I'm Jake Bruton, and today I want to have a theoretical conversation with a little how-to here that I've actually had come up quite a few times in private messages on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram. Here's my little tag. Now the editor has to stop and put that in when he wasn't expecting that. And I want to talk about outside corners when it comes to exterior wall framing. So let's start with, we're allowed to frame by code with a 2x4 or a 2x6, and the only thing that we have to change according to the 2021 IRC is how much exterior insulation is in the assembly. So we can get away with a 2x4 wall if we put enough insulation on the outside. For our market, it makes more sense to do 2x6, 24 on center most of the time. There are limitations to a 2x4 wall when you're 24 inches on center for how high you can go, for how many floors can happen above it. There are also limitations for a 2x6. However, the 2x6 on 24 inches on center, we can do that walkout with the floor above it. If we get higher than that, we have to go to a 16 on center. Check your code, check your local municipality. For us, we think it makes the most sense for us to build a 2x6 wall with exterior insulation. So, why do I bring up the exterior insulation beyond the 2x4, 2x6 mark? We bring it up because we're trying to warm the assembly. So when we talk about our wall assembly, our R values, our air sealing, we always inevitably get to vapor. We can control the vapor or the possibility of condensation by raising the temperature of the stud cavity and the studs, and by not letting them get cool enough to be a first condensing surface. And therefore, that exterior insulation, not only do we get a really good R value bump because it covers everything and it's continuous, but we're also raising the condensation or the temperature and lowering the risk of condensation in the wall. So that's our 2x6 argument, and all of the thermal bridging stuff that I'm about to talk to you about is asterisked by there is a continuous R value on the outside of the wall. So where do we start? We're going to start with two plates that are coming together. And those two plates are going to make up our outside corner. If they are in direct contact with concrete, they might be treated. They might have a different color because they're treated. There are lots of different instances that this can happen. We're going to use the plain southern yellow pine because it's what I have here. So when I first started in the industry, if we were framing with a 2x4, the way that we would do this is we would stack 3 framing members here, and then our other 2x4 would be about like that, and we would have 4 studs in the corner. And this is important because we would have the ability to run drywall or plasterboard in this direction and this direction, and we would have 3, 4.5, and 3.5 this direction, giving us about an inch worth of overhang here to catch half inch of rock, half inch of rock. And so, or half inch of rock first, and then half inch of rock. And this corner is structurally sound. This corner is the way that this has been done for a very long time. And if you're paying close attention, this is all one big thermal bridge, because we have, in a 2x4 wall, we have 3.5 plus an inch and a half. We have 5 inches of wood this direction, and we have 4 inches of wood this direction. So this is a wasteful from an energy perspective, but it also has 4 studs in it, and we started to notice people trying to do this in a different fashion, probably somewhere around the late 90s in my market. I worked with a couple forward-thinking companies, both Aarow Building, our company, and another company that used to be in business in the market, and they were trying to rethink this. So the first house, or the last house that we built for my parents in 1999, we bumped to a 2x6, and what we decided to do was something called a California corner, and it was still a 4-stud corner, and it was designed in effort to cut down on that thermal bridge and allow for some insulation and still allow for things to be mounted. Now, like I said before, we still, in this case, not in the house we built in '99, but if we were going to do this corner today, we would still have zip-R or continuous exterior insulation on the outside of the framing, so we would have a bit of a thermal break, but we definitely have some pathways that heat transfer could happen. Most likely is probably through this direction. We are able to stuff some insulation back in here. The challenge in this instance runs into, okay, well, this wall, 2 foot on center, we end up having a stud right here, and now we have a cavity. This is a challenge. This stud needs to be here because of a structural sheathing lap or something like that. So in our framing methods, about this time, maybe 2005 actually, we started making choices with our sheathing layout that wasn't just what's the most efficient way. We started looking at, okay, does it make more sense for us to put a full piece on both sides of the corner and then patch in the middle with a 2-footer or something so that we can eliminate this guy and move it down to being onto layout, allowing us to get insulation into that cavity. Well, this assembly still has wasted wood in it. And I would make the argument that obviously this is dependent slightly on siding, how you're fastening, things like that. This board could just go. And so now we have a 3-stud corner. And now we have the ability to insulate all of this cavity back here. The only thermal bridge is here, and this is readily accessible. This is a great alternative. We did this for about 10 years, maybe 2005 to 2017, maybe even, so maybe more than 10 years, and we really thought we were knocking it out of the park. We have since developed another method, and that method includes a scrap of our subfloor in most cases. Actually, I say that silly. Huber sponsors the Build Show. Huber sponsors the podcast that I host with Steve Basic and Peter Yost, the Unbuild It podcast. We are proud to use their products. We've used Advantech for almost 20 years in our company, and it's been the only subfloor we've used. So when you see that they're a sponsor, we also like their product, and we're happy they're a sponsor. We have leftover Advantech on almost every job. So now we can take a piece, smaller rip, probably a 2-inch rip or a 3-inch rip. We can screw from the face or screw from the backside if we have the time. And now we've increased our insulative property or the insulative cavity here by 3/4 of an inch, because we went from an 1.5 inch framing member down to a 3/4 inch framing member, and we've created more space on the backside here with the ability to get insulation in there. A lot of times this will get a flash of spray foam to lock in that corner if we feel like we can't get it stuffed back there. But this method works really well. The other thing that we've tried, there's actually 2 others. One, we've tried doing this with zip sheathing, the 1/2 inch and the 7/16. It seems a little weak for being able to fasten rock to. It's just a little much asking it to fasten 7/16 here to the stud and then the other direction. The other option here is we've seen and done twice. We've taken metal corner bead and screwed that metal corner bead to the face of the stud here, and then you can fasten the drywall to it. I don't really like it. It feels not as strong, not as sturdy, not as stable. And so this method with our scrap of Advantech in the corner is by far the thing that we've had the most luck with. We also, despite all of this, we will be very selective with our blocking framing or our blocking locations. If we get to an end of a wall and it's 3 inches or 4 inches or maybe even 6 inches from the last vertical framing member to the inside corner, and there's cabinets going in that corner, we won't put framing in that corner. We don't need it. It's not there to protect anything. The cabinet's going to protect that corner from ever getting mashed because there's going to be a cabinet in front of it. There's no reason to put that there. Use that space to increase the efficiency of your wall assembly. use that to maximize comfort for your clients and stop putting in wood that we don't need. That's what all of this is about. It's energy efficiency second. We can get rid of things and we can waste less materials and we can use less materials and still produce something that is perfectly fine for our clients and totally acceptable and totally code approved, and we can spend less money and the clients can pay less money and we can cut down less trees. I realize they're renewable. I realize the client's probably paying you by the stick, all those things. This is better for our future. This is less waste of time, effort, and materials. Now, we want to do this in every instance that we can. There's conversations about headers. There's conversations about 2 foot on center versus 16 on center. I'm going to say, if you want to see those conversations, send me a message on Instagram, and I will make a video about the difference between 16 on center and 24 on center, and we can talk framing, and we can look at all of this in another setup. I think that's my thoughts for today. So thank you for watching. Don't hesitate to subscribe to the newsletter. Don't forget, you can reach out on Instagram. Like I just told you to, you can reach out and you can send me information on Instagram. You can send me your thoughts on Instagram. I'll try to read everything that I get sent. It might not be expedient or timely, but I will try. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to check out the Unbuild It podcast that I referenced earlier. That's Steve Basic, Peter Yost, and myself talking about building science, and the business of building. Till next time, thanks for watching.